Early Breakfast with Rosie Wright on Times Radio with Elavon. Whatever size your business is, Elavon has a payment solution for you. Find out more at elavon.co.uk.
It's 20 minutes past 5. Now, the Times has got a photograph of tourists who left Mount Etna in Sicily as it erupted yesterday. Smoke and ash billowing out into the air. It's quite a dramatic photograph because it's a beautiful blue sky. And then you can see all that smoke spewing out. There's been an orange aviation warning. You can read more about that in the Times today. Then the other story, many of the papers, as I mentioned, are talking about. The Sun say police today will start a fresh search for Madeleine McCann's body using radar scanning 15 feet down in the ground. That will be in Portuguese in Portugal, where she vanished on holiday, as you remember, back in 2007. The Telegraph lead with that story as well. Andrew Eborn, the broadcaster, barrister, president of Octopus TV, is here to go through the papers. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Rosie. Always a pleasure to join you.
It's such a difficult story, talking about the case of Madeleine McCann. We can all think of her looking so sweet with her hat on and the absolute desperation for her parents over the years. Tell us what's happening today.
Well,
this is a bit of a development.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? Because it's May the 3rd, 2007 that Madeleine disappeared, so 18 years and 1 month. What's happening now is the prime suspect, if that's the best way of putting it, he's due to be released in September, so they're running out of time if they're going to charge him or try and find evidence and so on and so forth. So what they're doing now is they've got this new technology, which, as you say, is this radar that can scan 15 feet down in search for her body and other evidence. And that's what they're doing at the moment. They're basically scouring the roadwork trenches and also what they call the rat run of the suspect of paths, using radar in the search for the body or pyjamas or any other evidence.
Yes, it's just horrible, that the details here. It's about 30 German police officers with forensic specialists. They're going to examine a site on the outskirts of Praia da Luz where Christian Bruckner, who is one of the key suspects, was living at the time. He's currently serving a 7-year sentence for raping an American tourist in Portugal. He's going to be released from prison later this year. So police are trying, if there is anything to find it between now and that time. We'll have more on that on Times Radio Breakfast.
Absolutely. And the other thing on that, Rosie, as well, obviously several children go missing every year, and Madeleine McCann has dominated the headlines, and my heart goes out to anybody who's in that sort of situation.
Yeah, and of course, we've talked in the past about, the strategy to try and make sure your case is one that keeps generating attention and headlines, and, well, this one certainly has. Now, the Labour government have been talking about, they had a very, very set of problematic headlines in terms of the number of people who tried to cross the Channel over the weekend and how few the French actually tried to intercept. Well, data on how conditions have affected small boat migration over the past 3 years is going to be published. And what we're expecting is to see, I think you'd imagine this, red days to be when there are calm seas and sunshine. But the problem is, we can't say really, but the government are trying to say this, that look, the weather is to blame for the Channel crossings, because the weather is not solely responsible here, is it?
No, absolutely not. And this is the hot topic that dominated all the elections around the world. Blame it on the sunshine, screams the Sun. Of course, when the weather is better, more people are going to attempt to cross, and these dreadful crossings that they have, but they keep coming. We need to get the solution, and a part of the solution, as we say, is to tackle the gangs. Part of the solution is to turn around and make it not so attractive to come over here. Part of the solution is to turn around and say, well, if you come here, you're going to be sent somewhere else very, very quickly. So all of that needs to be done. Blaming the weather is just nonsense.
And actually getting the French to do a better job on their side of the Channel. We haven't worked out how to do that, though.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, Rosie. Again, you and I have discussed this at length. It's we do need to clamp down on all of these things and make sure they work. It is horrendous that more than 14,811, I think, have crossed from France this year already. It's the most in the first 5 months of any year since the crisis erupted in 2018. And projections are actually showing that up to 50,000 could arrive by the end of 2025 in what would be a record year.
Yeah, the Home Office has said they sort of don't recognise those projections, doesn't work on projections. They were the Times' estimates. But, that problem continues and causes problems for the government as well. Now, we're going to talk about AI sort of in a positive vein in a moment or two. But first, this story on the front page of the Telegraph and inside the Times as well. This is awful. Cancer patients are dying after following fake cures that they've seen online. AI-generated content and influencers are persuading people to reject conventional medicine and say instead, look, take on essential oils, oxygen treatments, new diets, intermittent fasting. And it does raise concerns, Andrew, about the misinformation that can be peddled by AI-generated content that has real-life tragic consequences.
Yes, and it's not just, as you know, I bang on about AI all the time, putting AI into Britain, but it's not just about AI. This is about people peddling misinformation. And what people need to do is evidence-based medicine, so they're not being diverted from real things that could help people. I spent, most of last week with Errol Musk, who was over here in London, disclosing about his own battle with prostate cancer. And it's good when people in the public eye speak about these things, but the assistance that he got. And prevention is always better than cure, but you mustn't disregard the medical experts as a result of the latest cure, which is peddled by the internet. I think that's the point. Is that people who are pushing unproven treatments or ideas, it's putting people's lives not just at risk. Lives have been lost as a result, and it is alarming.
Yeah, it is, and that, unhelpfully for the former Prime Minister, sort of plays into the story on the front page of the Times. I was there yesterday at the South by Southwest Festival.
Yes.
And the former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, said, look, we're heading to a situation. The whole speech in the conference they were talking about was, how AI could transform government. And Tony Blair said, you could have AI tutors, nurses, doctors. That would make government smaller, more efficient, cost less, and give a better service. I think right now we feel suspicious of that.
Well, we should always be suspicious, and as I always say, it's the biggest human achievement, but also potentially the biggest existential threat. What it is a fabulous co-pilot, and it basically can be absolutely transformative impact on public services like healthcare and education by saving time and money. And I often reference the study that was done by the University of California, San Diego, which says that chatting to ChatGPT is more effective and empathetic than chatting to your GP because it's got more information that can be shared. And the more that we feed these machines with data, the better they're going to get. But obviously it raises all sorts of questions about privacy and so on and so forth, the right of access to those sort of materials. But it's embracing it with the eyes wide open, knowing the risks, as you rightly point out, knowing that it's not definitive. And there can be these things called hallucinations where basically they get it wrong, they make it up. But using this information is power. And I'm working with a number of organisations such as Science with Soul, which are basically campaigning for this. Share the data on an anonymised basis so that people around the world can benefit and basically benefiting because prevention is better than cure.
Yes, well, the former Prime Minister said the country can't afford to be squeamish about the power of this emerging technology, and that's what Peter Kyle, the Science and Technology Minister, was saying. He said, look, there's a risk in using AI and it might go wrong, and if there are, he did say I would throw my hands up and say that was me, but he said the greater risk was not doing it and falling behind. So that is the sort of interplay that the government are looking at. And Tony Blair actually said that other departments needed to sort of pull up their socks when it came to AI in comparison to what he thought Peter Carr was doing. It was a bit of a love-in, actually. It was quite interesting to watch. Final thing, Andrew. I used to watch Doctor Who, I don't know, 20 years ago. And the latest series is going to be... the next series is going to be fronted by Billy Piper, who was very much the Doctor's assistant when I was watching in the David Tennant era. And Ncuti Gatwa's departure, he's left. It's had pretty muted reviews, the end of Doctor Who. And you do wonder at some point, how many decades can this show run on for and still capture audiences in the same way?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I spent my childhood hiding behind the sofa to avoid the the Cybermen and the Daleks, so on and so forth. So yes, absolutely, everybody's childhood has been punctuated by the Whoiverse, as they call it. So the reality is this, however, the ratings have not been good. And according to recent data from Barb, the first 4 episodes of the 15th series averaged about 3.1 million viewers over the 7-day window, down from the average of 3.9 for previous 4 episodes of series 14. And series 13, Jodie Whittaker, you might remember her when she was in as the Doctor, was watched by 5 million people. So this is, they're trying to sort of work out how can they keep the ratings. It is a fabulous brand. And as I say, I hope it will carry on for many, many years.
Does it need a rest, a bit of a break? I mean, it had a 16-year break before it sort of came back, and then that was in my childhood, and people thought they'd done that pretty well. Maybe it needs a rest.
It would be a shame if they did have a rest, but and they always say that a change is as good as the rest, and there is no greater change than in the Doctors, who keep regenerating. Let's see what happens. I do think it's a very interesting move to bring her back, and let's see what that does.
I think she'll be brilliant. Andrew, thank you. Andrew Eborn, the broadcaster, barrister, president of Octopus TV, going through the papers.
Across the UK, on DAB, online and on your smart speaker. This is Times Radio.